Alright, let's talk about Joseph, King of Dreams. Since a wee lad, I have always loved this frickin' movie. I even used to think it was better than The Prince of Egypt. I know it's foolish to say because of the awesome tale of Moses and that movie being a total powerhouse with a huge budget, Oscar-worthy songs, and a theatrical release. But here's the thing, Joseph, King of Dreams deserves way more love than it gets. Sure, it didn't have the big Hollywood treatment, but when you dig into it, this movie really has some serious depth. If you haven't watched it in a while, buckle up, because we're about to dive into why Joseph, King of Dreams is better than you remember.
Judah! Judah, help me, please! Please! I'm your brother! I'm your brother! Half brother.
Let's get the obvious out of the way. Joseph, King of Dreams had a small budget of $13 million.
It has not been easy for me. And, I started off in Brooklyn. My father gave me a small loan of $1 million.
And went straight to video, giving it a quieter debut. Meanwhile, The Prince of Egypt had a massive $70 million budget. It's a sweeping epic, right? Not exactly a fair fight in terms of resources.
Not as serious as yours, I fear.
But here's where it gets interesting. Even with that small budget, Joseph doesn't feel like a cheap knockoff. They took what little they had and focused it where it mattered most. Story, emotion, and character development.
I've done a lot more for a lot less.
The animation may be simpler, but it's not sloppy. The dream sequences, for example, are visually stunning. They could have half-assed it and just churned out some basic visuals, but instead, they made these sequences pop. And yes, while the music isn't as iconic as The Prince of Egypt, songs like Better Than I, which plays when Joseph is at his lowest, you know better than I, are perfectly suited for the movie. There's something raw and honest about the way this movie does more with less. Here's something that really separates Joseph from The Prince of Egypt: the pacing. In Prince of Egypt, everything's big, dramatic, and fast-moving. In Joseph, it's slower and more deliberate.
Maybe he can dream his way out.
Don't leave me here alone!
But it works perfectly for the story it's telling. You're not watching the grand, sweeping changes of a nation. You're watching one man grow, suffer, and ultimately rise above it all.
We seem to be made to suffer. It's our lot in life.
It gives you time to really connect with Joseph. We follow him from his youth, where he's the favored child with dreams of greatness, to being sold into slavery by his own brothers. I mean, did the parents really have to get him a custom golden Gucci robe for just being born? While the rest of his brothers dress in old dirty hobo rags. Not even wearing shirts. I remember when my sister got more presents than me for her birthday, and I was infuriated. But I was 8. That moment is devastating, and the scene and voice acting is perfectly executed if I do say so myself.
I'm your brother! I'm your brother! Half brother.
Joseph has to go through betrayal and abandonment, and the movie takes its time showing the emotional fallout from that. Then there's Potiphar's wife. Just when Joseph starts getting back up after getting knocked down, he's falsely accused, thrown in prison, and his world collapses again.
I see. Take him to prison.
Wait, Master, no! Please, believe me, I did nothing wrong!
But it's not rushed, and you feel every punch life throws at him. Even the passage of time in prison is handled well. It's not a 5-minute montage with a quick resolution. They show his isolation, his growing beard, the toll it takes on him. You watch him lose hope before regaining it, slowly, bit by bit. The movie knows how to make you feel the weight of his suffering, despite its 75-minute runtime. Maybe the reason why this movie stuck with me so much is because Joseph's story is way more relatable than Moses's in The Prince of Egypt. Not everyone can relate to leading a mass exodus and parting the Red Sea. Actually, no one can. But everyone knows what it's like to feel isolated, wronged, or misunderstood. Joseph's journey is one of personal growth, resilience, and learning to forgive, not just others, but himself. That's the thing, right? Joseph's growth isn't just about overcoming external challenges, it's about his inner struggle, which is something we all go through. Whether it's dealing with betrayal or learning to let go of the past, Joseph's story is incredibly human. He's not a historical figure who led a massive group of people to freedom. He can interpret dreams, yes, but he's really just a good guy who's had some crazy bad luck and learns to rise above. That's why his story resonates. It's about finding strength in the worst situations and coming out the other side stronger, which is something anyone can get behind. And speaking of growth, this movie nails it. Joseph's character arc, building towards his final act of forgiveness, is masterful. The way Joseph initially toys with his brothers, hiding his identity while testing their character, adds an additional layer to the scene. It's satisfying because it shows that Joseph hasn't forgotten their betrayal. He's fully aware of the power he now holds over them. I mean, he's the second most powerful man in Egypt, only after Pharaoh himself.
I take you into my home, and this is how you repay me? By stealing?
We wouldn't steal from you. We'd never do such a thing.
And now you insult me by lying.
What?
One of you has stolen from me.
But instead of seeking revenge, he chooses mercy. After all that Joseph has gone through, the betrayal, slavery, imprisonment, this moment of forgiveness feels earned and deeply moving. It's not just about being the bigger person, it's about Joseph finally being able to let go of all his pain, and that's why it feels so satisfying. You watch this guy go through hell, and when he finally forgives his brothers, it feels real.
You will be punished.
Put it in there. Ow, stop.
Take me instead. I beg you.
No, take me. Take me. Take me. No, you can't take me.
Take any of us, Your Grace. But please, let the boy go. If anyone is to be punished, it should be us.
I will not harm any of you, or our father. I am your brother, Joseph.
Joseph. I can't believe you get here. Joseph. Can you ever forgive us?
I already have.
It's not some fairy tale ending, it's a human moment that shows the power of mercy both for others and for yourself. This theme of forgiveness is one of the film's strongest points. It's an accessible message for children, but one that adults can find incredibly powerful. Okay, that was intense. Let's talk about the animation. Sure, it's not as polished or flashy as The Prince of Egypt, but the visuals are still spectacular. The way they use color is great. Egypt is bathed in warm, golden light, symbolizing prosperity and hope. But when Joseph's in prison, everything is cold, dim, and oppressive. The filmmakers didn't need a massive budget to convey these emotions. They used light and shadow to tell the story in a subtle but effective way. Big brain moment. And the dream sequences I mentioned, they're on a whole nother level. It's like Vincent van Gogh made them himself. If you remember one thing about the movie, it's probably these scenes. No, they weren't fever dreams, they were real. This movie loves its metaphors, and they really work. One of the strongest is the pit Joseph is thrown into, and how it connects to the little tree he tends to in prison. The pit symbolizes the absolute lowest point in his life, literally and figuratively in the dark, abandoned by his family, living with rats. But then there's that little tree. Even in prison, Joseph nurtures it and it grows. It's not just about the tree, it's about Joseph. It's about how even in his darkest moments, he doesn't give up. He holds on to his integrity and keeps growing, just like that tree. The movie shows that no matter what life throws at you, holding on to hope and your values can lead to unexpected growth and success.
There is always hope.
Joseph's strength isn't just in his ability to forgive, it's in the fact that he never loses sight of who he is. Even when falsely accused and thrown into prison, he doesn't compromise his principles. That's being a Sigma male. It's easy to bend or break when things get tough. But Joseph's story shows that resilience and integrity are what ultimately lead to success. And the movie doesn't make it look easy either. You see him struggle, you see him doubt, but in the end, it's his integrity that wins. As a kid watching this movie, I would always think to myself, the evolution of Joseph's character illustrates a compelling commentary on personal growth and resilience in the face of systematic injustice. Or something along those lines. If we look at the story's religious angle, it's a Bible story after all. Cover your ears, atheist scum. The lesson is clear. Bad things happen to us. Even if we do everything right, we can hold on to the pain and demand answers from God. Or we can let go, like Joseph, and trust his plan. Despite losing almost everything, Joseph kept his faith, believing that somehow it would all make sense in the end. For those who aren't religious, the movie still resonates. When life throws you into the deepest pit, there's always the potential to grow, to find hope, to become something greater. And that's the beauty of this movie. It teaches these profound lessons about resilience, integrity, and faith without feeling too preachy. It's not just a lesson for kids. It's one of those messages you realize is undeniably true once you're an adult, after living through life's challenges, but it's still a good reminder for the next time you find yourself in a tough spot. At the end of the day, Joseph, King of Dreams might not have the epic scope of the Prince of Egypt, but that's part of its charm. It's an intimate, emotionally charged story that delivers timeless lessons about forgiveness, growth, and resilience. Yes, it had a relatively small budget, but it uses it to its advantage by focusing on what really matters, the story. If you haven't watched it in a while, do yourself a favor and give it another shot. It's a movie that'll hit you harder than you remember, especially now that you can appreciate the depth of its themes and the heart it brings to the table. And that's why Joseph, King of Dreams, is better than you remember. You know better than I.
As agreed.
1 subscriber.
Judo, why did